This is Lora O'Brien from the Irish Pagan School, and we got a student question in about the autumn equinox and whether we'd be celebrating it and how, if so. And I just wanted to do a quick video about the Irish festivals because the equinox is obviously part of one side of the cycles within Irish paganism. The other side being the fire festivals. So you have basically 2 cycles of 4 festivals each through the year. So the fire festivals are Samhain, which is the next one coming up as I record this video, however you're watching it or wherever you're watching it in the year. So that is Halloween, better known as Halloween, but they're not the same thing. So generally marked around the 31st of October. We have Imog, which is also known as St. Bridget's Day, which is around the 1st of February. We have Bealtaine, never Beltane, that's an anglicised, appropriated version of the word. It's Bealtaine, which is the Irish word for the month of May. And that is May Day, or May Eve, really, the last day of April. 30 days had September, April, June, so the 30th of April. And then Lunasa, which is the August Harvest Festival, which is around the 1st or the 2nd of August. So those are the fire festivals. And then in between those, what I call the cross quarter, or some people call the quarter days, we have the 2 equinoxes, the autumn and the spring equinox, and the 2 solstices, so midwinter and midsummer solstice. So we don't call the quarter days, we don't call them Ostara, Litha, Mabon, Yule. None of those are terminology from Irish paganism, we don't use them. Indeed, some of them, I'm looking at you, Mabon, is completely and utterly made up, and just don't do that, okay? So you can Google why Mabon was made up in the 1970s by an English, I believe, Wiccan, and completely appropriated and misunderstood and abused Welsh culture in the process of that, by the way. So in Ireland, we call we have Airach and Fór, which is spring and autumn. So Connacht on Éire is the spring equinox, and Connacht on Ór is the autumn equinox. And then we have Grianstad on Tara, which is Grianstad literally means the stopping of the sun, which I think is wonderful. But Grianstad is the name for a solstice. And so it's Grianstad on Tara, which is the summer solstice, and Grianstad on Givra, which is the winter solstice. And at these times, so at the equinoxes, there is the focus on balance, obviously. It is the balance between light and dark, or night and day. At the summer and winter solstices, respectively, there is a focus more on the light or the dark. And there are different traditions around. I mean, the equinox is not so much. We do know that Irish people, obviously, people on the island going back thousands of years, obviously were aware of these quarter or cross quarter days and these times of the years, these astronomical events, because they literally built many, many monuments which aligned to them. The most famous of which being Brú na Bóinne, which most people know as Newgrange. And but there are many more all over the country. And these monuments, these would be Stone Age, Bronze Age monuments, which show us that obviously there was an awareness of these very important times of the year, and it was important to mark them. Now, there's a lot of academic debate over whether this was some kind of elite few who put the people to work, to build these big monuments, and then had little tiny festivals. But I think maybe they're talking or influenced too much by the lottery that it takes to actually get a place at Newgrange during the winter solstice, which is definitely controlled by an elite few. But apart from that, it is my feeling, having had a relationship with a lot of these sites my whole life, it is definitely my feeling that there were community, there was a community awareness, and the people would have been involved in these monuments. Now, that is my UPG, my unique personal gnosis. That is not based on any academic findings that I have, just to be very clear about that. But it does make sense to me, both spiritually and energetically, as I said, I have a relationship with many of these sites. These times of year are very important for the community. Our major hiring festivals and market festivals would have certainly would have gone on around spring and the autumn equinoxes. There would have been big cattle markets all around the country. There's definitely some folklore attached both to spring and autumn, which would generally fall around this time of year as well. So all of those things were specifically connected to these festivals and connected to these. Personally, in my own practice, which is what Charisma was actually asking us, in my own practice, I don't market with any kind of big ritual stuff. I'm always very, very aware of the shifting and the turning of the light and the energies. I'm very seasonally aware here in Ireland. We have we always had 4 very distinct seasons that meant that I could track the cycles very conscientiously my whole life. So I'm very tuned in to all of that. And I think that that's actually very important. You can do it obviously with lunar cycles, but you can also do it with the seasonal cycles as well. And just for your personal practice, that is going to be important. But whatever it takes at this time of year to find a balance, I think, is what's going to be important for people. And it's not just about the actual autumn equinox, or the spring equinox, or the solstice, which the dates vary. They can be anything from the 19th to the 22nd, within these windows. You usually hear people referring to the 21st, but they can actually vary. The 21st is the most common usually. But they can vary within those windows. And being aware of exactly when that shift and that, you can Google that very, very easily, thankfully, these days. But even just spending some time outdoors and making sure that you're tuning in is going to be very beneficial to you, both for your mental health and your spiritual health at these times of the year. If you can connect to the land, connect to physical sites in this world that are representative or aligned with these times of year, obviously that's very important. If you're not in Ireland or you don't have anything like that near you or accessible to you, you can absolutely research those online. You can, you can look at the archaeology, you can look at the history of these sites. You can, if you don't know, finding out about the archaeology of the sites and the monuments is actually a really good project to take on at this time of year. And just figuring out where the alignments are. And I use a guided journeying practice then, and I do a lot of ancestral work around these times and try and tune in with how these communities and how these people and how these monuments were related to each other and were interacting with each other. So I do have on the irishpaganschool.com, I have some free guided journeying resources up there if that is a technique that you want to learn, and so it is something that will absolutely stand to you of value in all sorts of areas. So it'll never go to waste. So you can go over to the Irish Pagans, www.irishpaganschool.com, and tap into those resources there on guided meditation journeys, and get yourself started there. And again, it's another way to tune in to the seasons and the cycles and everything that's going on at this time of year. So thank you very much for your time, and I will see you in the next video.